This is the story of the great ball game. Once and once again, there were trees all over the world. Everywhere was trees, except in the middle of these trees was a little cabin. And the cabin had a little front porch that sagged because all the animals and all the birds would come to this cabin. And they would sit on the porch and carry on with each other, talking about this and that, and they would be eating and dropping their seed husks and having a grand old time together on the porch. Well, one time, the birds and the animals began to fight with each other. The animals said, "Why, we're bigger than you, and we have sharp teeth, and we have fur all over our body. We're much better than you." And the birds say, "Why, well, we fly way, way high in the sky, and we have beaks and sharp eyes to see things below. We're far better than you." And this went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and built up until they almost had a war. But the animals and birds were smarter than people sometimes. And they decided not to have a war, but to settle their difference with a great ball game. And the winner of the great ball game would decide the punishment for the loser. Well, the animals and the birds started up the little path, through the trees, up the hill, and they came out onto a clearing. And there was a clearing surrounded by trees. It's where they would play their great ball game. And the animals scooted down to one end of the field to set up their goal, and Bear was their captain. And then the birds scooted down to the other end of the field to set up their goal, and Eagle was their captain. And they were setting up their goal and making their plans for who would play what and who would do what, when all of a sudden, up from the forest path flew, it was Bat. Why, Bat flew over to the birds, and Bat flew over to the animals, and said, "What are you all doing? What are you doing? You playing? You playing a game? Can I play? Can I be on your team?" And Bat was right in Bear's face. And Bear said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." And Bat said, come on, let me be on your team. I want to be on a team." And Bear said, No, you've got wings. You go over to the other side. You're a bird." So Bat flew over to the other side and flew right in front of Eagle. And Bat said, "Are you playing? Can I be on your team? I want to be on your team. Can I be on your team?" They won't let me be on the other team. And Eagle, she said, no. She said, "Your body's covered with fur." She said, "You've got leather wings, not feathers." She said, "You're an animal. Go fly over there." So Bat flew back over to the other side again and flew right in front of Bear's face again and said, "Bear, they won't let me be on the birds' team. I want to play. Come on, let me play. Huh? Will you let me play? Come on. And Bear, finally tired of the Bat, said, "Okay." He said, "Okay." But he said, "Go behind the goal and stay out of our way, all right?" And Bat said, "Great!" And he flew behind the goal. Well, the great ball game started. The ball went up in the air, and before it could hit the ground, down swooped Owl and grabbed the ball. And Owl flew the ball toward their goal. And Owl was passing to Lark, and Lark passed to Jay, and then they passed over to Eagle, but Eagle dropped it, and it fell to the ground. And Bear picked up the ball down below, and Bear started to run toward their goal. And Bear ran toward the goal, and the birds dive-bombed Bear, and they did what they could, but Bear was so big, and he ran over and threw it right into the goal, and scored one for the animals. Well, then the game continued, and the ball went up into the air again. And this time, Fox jumped way up and grabbed the ball midair. And he was taking a big turn to head back around for the goal when all of a sudden Hawk flew down and knocked the ball right out of Fox's hand. And just as Hawk flew and knocked it out, Dove swept up and got the ball. And they took it way, way, way up in the sky this time. They weren't going to risk anything. And they flew the ball really high. And the animals kept jumping and chasing and jumping, but they couldn't do anything. They couldn't, and the birds flew in and swept into a goal easily. The score was 1-1. But just as they were going to throw the ball up again, they noticed it was getting dark. And they needed to have a winner. They had to have a winner to the great ball game, but it was getting dark. They needed to play this round very, very fast. And they needed to win. Somebody had to win this round very fast before it got dark. So up the ball went into the air. And they started to run, and the raccoon got the ball and started to run for the animal's goal. And Raccoon was waddling to the goal and tossed it to Porcupine. And Porcupine kept running and tossed it to Beaver. And Beaver swatted it with its tail and started toward the goal. And they were heading toward the animal's goal. And it looked like the animals were going to win, but the bird swept down. It was Owl who got that ball and swept it up into the air again. And they tossed it back and forth between Sparrow and Lark, and all of the birds were flying around above. But they were playing a little too much, and the ball fell again. And this time, the bear picked the ball up. And the bear got the ball, and it looked like he was running toward the goal, and it wasn't going to even pass it. It was just going to be a slam dunk. And as he was reaching, Eagle swooped down and get the ball right from Bear's hand, and up in the air it went. And Eagle flew so high. She flew so high and headed toward the bird's goal that none of the animals could even do a thing. They even climbed on top of each other to make a tower of animals. They couldn't reach Eagle. It looked like the game was going to be over. But from behind the goal came Bat. Now, Bat flew up, and he flew up. He was from behind the animal's goal, and he flew up toward Eagle, and he flew way, way up high, and he bumped Eagle, and the ball started to fall. Now, Bat got the ball and started to fly. And now it was getting dark. It was getting dark, and so dark the birds couldn't even see. And they started to dive bomb at Bat, but they couldn't see very well. And they kept diving and diving, but Bat kept dodging them. And they didn't know how Bat could dodge them, but they couldn't see very well in the dark, and Bat flew over and put the ball right in the goal. And all the animals went crazy. They were so excited. They had won the great ball game. Bat had won the great ball game for them. And they picked Bat up on their shoulders, which wasn't hard to do at all. And they started carrying Bat. They were cheering Bat. And all of the animals started back down the forest path toward the cabin. And the birds, they came down too, and they were good sports about the whole thing. And they all settled back down on the porch. And the great ball game was over. It was time for the winner to decide the punishment for the loser. Well, Bear, being the captain of the animals, everybody turned to Bear, but he surprised them and said, Bat, you won the game for us. You decide their punishment. And Bat was so excited. He puffed up his chest, and he was so proud that he had been a part of that team and he had helped win that game. And he thought for a minute, he thought, this is very exciting. He thought, he said, okay, I've got it. And he said, birds, he said, now, from this day on, when winter approaches, you all know that there's less food for everyone. Birds, you must go somewhere else to find food. And leave us animals up here. And the birds agreed. And so that's the way it has been since then. Every winter, as the cold approaches, the birds fly south, somewhere else, to find food and leave the food for the animals and Bat. And every season when spring comes again, They fly back up, and the birds and the animals once again share that lovely little porch. And, you know, to this day, if you're out playing behind the barn or near the garage on some dark and dusky night, don't be surprised, especially if it's mosquito-y out, that you see in the air this dark animal, this dark bird, this dark creature flying around. And it's Bat. Bat is flying around. But you know, you always thought Bat was eating mosquitoes or doing what bats do. But no, next time I want you to listen real close. Listen, because you'll hear, "Hey, you guys playing a game? Can I play? I want to play. Come on, let me play in a game, huh? I'm a winner."